Good morning, ASEAN. Welcome to the ASEAN Breakfast Call this morning. It's Thursday, 27th of March 2014. And today we have some news updates from around the region and of course MH as well. So that we'll start with MH today. And also allow me to introduce our guests. We have Will today.
Yeah, morning.
And also Arlene.
Morning.
Who will be sharing with us a lot about the ASEAN People's Forum later. She's from Project Dialogue in Malaysia. Yeah? All right. Starting today with some little updates about MH370. So basically, after the announcement yesterday that the plane has ended up in India Ocean, right? Now, there even then, a lot of countries, for example, like Indonesia and China, are sending special envoy to Malaysia to get complete information on the investigations of the missing MH370 because they feel that they owe it to their to the families, whether it's Indonesian citizens or Chinese citizens, to have a full clarification so that they have actual clear information on what happened. So that's one from MH370 update. And the news report from Today Online also talk about how Prime Minister and Hisham, who's our Home Ministry, talk about the riddle for MH370 might take years to solve. So they are asking for the families to be patient, and unfortunately, it might take a long time and it might take years before they could learn the truth of what happened.
It's actually not that easy to have a rescue and search for the plane, since that if it seriously crashed or maybe ended in the Indian Oceans, well, now it's still a doubt whether it's crashed or not. We're not going to talk about that. But if you want to search a plane in the Indian Ocean, I've seen from the Facebook someone that have maybe making a comparisons how deep is the sea. So I don't think it's that easy to make a rescue or search.
But we do have technology that is able to detect humans in the sea, from a few hundreds of feet away.
Is that using a satellite?
I'm not sure what technology that is. But I'm saying that if there's a will to, I would think that it's possible to find that.
Possibility, of course, is there, but just problem how much time they're going to use to do the rescue and search.
Well, I think that maybe one of the key factor here is cost, right? I don't know. It looks like it's a combination of cost and also how Indian Ocean now, it's also a pretty dangerous place to search.
Yes, actually it's quite dangerous, but I would just urge that you don't trust whatever the Facebook, someone posts in the Facebook say like how you see how dangerous and how tough that you're going to search in the Indian Ocean with the video. You see the wave and it's quite terrible. But I don't think that's a real one because I just clarified this morning the video that they post is not a real one talking about the Indian Ocean. But the other thing I want to talk about is how tough is that? It's not. I don't think it's because of the cost. I think it's because of the will. How strong the will you want to search and you're willing to help. Even though there are 26 countries, right, or 29 if I'm mistaken, 26, right? They are involving in the rescue and search program. But the problem is how strong the will they're willing to help. I'm still have a doubt in that.
Well,
since that you said you have there probably some technology can help that. I don't know which country that having that kind of the technologies that can easily allocate someone's in the middle of the Indian Oceans. But if they have it, why? Until now, no one can claim that they have confidence to search maybe some debris or someone that survived.
Right. So I think that to search for people in a vast ocean, right? And many of times, first you were talking about the wave. I don't know about the wave, but what I've read from the report is that, you're literally staring at ocean that are glaring because of the sun and whatnot, and you're trying to look for it inch by inch, so it's not that simple.
Yeah, of course.
But yet, of course, I mentioned about the cost, also because, for the search and rescue efforts, it takes millions of dollars every day, in order to, dispense all these navies or, aircraft, and whatnot. So, yeah. Is there something, you want to chime in?
Yeah, well, probably this is a side view. I think what probably the government and also in terms of the issues on the MH370, we need to ponder is the issue on transparency. I feel that a majority of the decision making and also communication has been very much centralized, and I appreciate as the citizen of Malaysia, it would be better to have views from experts to comment or to at least to provide information, first-hand information to the general public, and probably set up a team of experts, as in, although there's already most probably a team of experts working on this behind him, but as in like in terms of the PR, the public relation in communicating with the general public, a team of expert in providing information on what is happening on the search and rescue would be better.
But now the other issue is that I don't think Malaysia government having this kind of expert, they can form the team to help in the search and rescue. We are much rely on the other countries, rely on their expert to do the search and rescue.
I think when it comes to expert, it should be seen beyond just national boundaries. It should be transnational, or it should be a collaboration between different countries. And I think right now we have experts of different countries working on this.
In fact, even FBI on board.
Yeah, that's true. I guess what Malaysia needs right now is transparency. That's it.
Transparency. Okay. Now create another issues, because most of the people always still having the doubt towards the Malaysian government. They thought that Malaysian government is hiding something in behind. But is that the truth? I'm not sure, because some people might say that actually they don't have any conspiracy theory behind it, just because the Malaysian government is not capable to do the search and rescue. So they have to rely on the other countries, and even the informations. Like for example, they are relying on Inmarsat to get the last signal from the plant. You see, from the previous reports from the news, there are none of the information is gained by our own. It's much getting from the other countries and the experts. So that's why some people having the other comment on the other way around. The conspiracy theory is actually it doesn't exist, just because of Malaysian government. They don't have the capability to do a search and rescue. So that's why they need to gain all the information from others. Well, but that's slow down the time they do the announcement.
Yeah, but I guess regardless of anything, Malaysian government is going to, well, not Malaysian government actually. Malaysia Airlines will have to pay millions in damages to all the family members, even whether it's found or, well, even if it's not found, and it's coming from the Straits Times. So talking about how the family members can claim as much as up to $175,000 for every passenger on board. And this is also not the maximum limit, because they can, take further action to sue the airline. Yeah.
They can sue the airline.
Yeah, to get more damages than 175,000. But that is what we would call a treaty that was agreed internationally amongst airlines company, that they have to pay damages for every passenger killed or injured in an accident. Yeah, even if you don't know what the cause is.
If this is an accident, it's not caused by the human, so how can they sue them?
Irregardless, even if the cause cannot be established, they still have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how about the insurance claims? Means that since now is it's claimed as a missing or crash, still yet to confirm, right? Or it's already proved that it's crash. Because the insurance is going to pay based on what kind of the accidents or what kind of the tragedy or the incidents that happened, right? So now it's claimed as the journey ended somewhere in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's not claimed as crash. Though most of the media, they claim it as crash. But to the insurance company, how they look at this case, how they look into it. So
I think this will also play into the story of not really having a perfect closure on this case. Like at least, a closure could be, we have found some debris. Okay, so we confirm that it has crashed, right? And then everything can move on. But now it's like, according to calculation, it ended there.
Yeah.
So
there's a question come across my mind here. If you went talking about just now, if you found some debris, but will you still trust that the announcement or any information released by the government, if they said, okay, we have found the debris, and it's proved that after the experiment or kind of the research, we've proved that debris belongs to the MH370. Will you still believe that information that will be released?
Again, I feel that very much the key problem why people are starting to distrust government and also create all these different conspiracy theories is all about the decision making and communication is too centralized. I mean, similar to the way our government decide on our own policies and and the politics is very much centralized. In a way, I feel that the MH370 case can be a form of sort of case study for us to realize that the government should decentralize in terms of how they provide information, they decide on the information, and probably provide more voices to the experts in trying to solve the riddle.
All right. So as we continue to hope for the best, let's move on to the ASEAN region. Yeah. So in the broader ASEAN region news, we're talking about South China Morning Post talking about the planned joint maritime security exercise that is showing that ASEAN can lead. You're talking about how the ASEAN countries is coming together to practice some of the military maritime practices in Malacca Straits. Yeah. So and this is a pretty historical development because you're talking about ASEAN countries that in the past have been seen as not so united, and they wouldn't want to interfere in each other's politics, and now they are collaborating in political and security community, and so I think it's pretty interesting, and especially the point of the article bringing up how because of the need to balance out the power between US and China that's coming into ASEAN, now they are also building up themselves as well, and also trying to fend off all these influences.
Yes. I think why they want to just having this kind of the integration in between the ASEAN countries, probably they want to create or maybe form some kind of the collaborations or maybe the relationships that can be strong enough to protect themselves from China or the influence from the United States. As from the case of the MH370, we can see that, okay, US is coming in, although they are coming to rescue and search the effort to do so, but I would see that they're also having some kind of the hidden agenda in behind. So what they are, the purpose, the real purpose that they're coming here to do the rescue and search is that because other than that, they have some objective they want to see, okay, or maybe to show off, okay, what we can do to you, or our influence or our power. They're still having some influence in these ASEAN countries. So that's why I would see that the integration of the ASEAN countries probably is a good thing if in terms of against or maybe to protect ourselves from the influence or the effect from the United States or the China.
In fact, from the article, they are saying that U.S. Quote-unquote invasion is growing stronger.
Okay, you use the word invasion.
Yes, but historically, China has always had a very strong influence in the region. So it might be something that ASEAN countries is taking on, like U.S. support in order to balance out China at the moment. But in the long-term view, they still see China as an inevitable tide, that they should work together with.
You mean ASEAN or the United States?
No, so they are, let's say the ASEAN countries are using US as a balance against China. But again, they also see that long term, we can't really fend off China, and something that we have to work together with.
Well, how do you look at this? Do you think ASEAN countries more friendly to state or more friendly to China?
At the moment, it's the states, because you're talking about how Philippines and Thailand, which is a previous very strong supporters of US already,
even Vietnam.
And now like Vietnam is coming in, and then you're talking about even Myanmar. There's a lot of influence there from the US.
I wonder why, because throughout the ASEAN country we have lots of the Chinese people. I mean, their ancestors came from China, right? So why they are tend to get closer to state rather than get closer to China?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I will have to comment that this is related to the Taiwanese students' protest that I was reading up on yesterday. So I personally feel closer to Taiwanese than Maoist China, because I think that at least in Taiwan they are still practicing like Confucian humanism values that I grew up with, whereas in China I could not relate. So I don't know if it's something that's shared by a lot of
Is it because
Chinese
of the protest is done by the students, so that's why you tend to
not at all. I think it's more about political and cultural values that I feel that traditionally when we're taught, at least in, let's say, Malaysian Chinese primary school, we're taught about Confucian values and whatnot, but not Maoism.
But the problem is the students who protest in that cross-strait agreement, most of them don't know what's happening in between this kind of the cross-strait agreement. They don't know what that is all about. They just simply protest because maybe some of the Green Party, they just try to provoke them, say something is not good, about this the agreement. So that's why you should go to against because it's going to affect the SME, the small medium enterprises in the Taiwan. But basically, this agreement, I think, is something not that bad.
No, I think you cannot view it as just the issue itself. It's like it's a combination of both. One, about how the trade agreements will affect them, their livelihood, which is pretty important in Taiwan because they already have a pretty low wage, and if this does liberalize, how will it affect them, being young graduates? However, I would have to say, the protest is not just purely on that. It is more also for Taiwanese self-determination.
Okay, I'll put it the other way around. Because, in this agreement, Taiwan will also, having some investment, or some companies will be investing in China. Should the Chinese, students, they go for protesting as well? Should they do that? You get what I mean?
Counter protest.
Yes, counter protest from China, because Taiwan also having some investment in that country.
Yeah, but I think that you have to view it in terms of powers. Like you're talking about a big country, a big power versus a smaller country and smaller power, or we don't know if it's country at all.
It's the same country basically. Just the two.
Well, I like to interject. I don't want to comment much about Taiwan politics, but what I know about in terms of the power relation between the US and China is, I don't know if you realize that the first McDonald's just opened in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Last month. So it should
not yet in Myanmar. Okay.
Yeah, it's not yet. Thank goodness.
Who knows? Maybe they like it. The kids or maybe the teenagers love it.
It shows that the US or America is trying to show to increase their presence in Southeast Asia, and the next country would probably be Myanmar. Well, in terms of China, it's very. I guess we have to look at how China has invested in Southeast Asia economically. And for example, in Malaysia, China is one of the top 5 countries in terms of import-export and in terms of trade partners. So it is important to see that China presence in Southeast Asia will be vast and it will increase its power. And I guess for Southeast Asia, what is important is to balance that power relations between both. So in that sense, when it comes to the maritime issue, I think first of all, Southeast Asia or ASEAN countries should look at forming a stronger regional body, regional bloc, and I think this is the first step towards it.
I would have to add that besides the powers that we were talking about earlier, ASEAN's first dialogue partner is actually Australia, and this is also a new party that's coming in, talking about the news from Rappler, the failure of ASEAN leadership, maybe. So talking about how Australia is coming in as a dialogue partner, and I think that it's pretty interesting because I think we have often missed out that Australia has a vital role in ASEAN as well.
Actually, Australia's influence towards Southeast Asia is even bigger. I mean, not just in terms of tourism, but in terms of this is sensitive, but in Timor-Leste they have like some sort of economic interest in Timor-Leste, as in the oil and gas. So in that sense, also, I mean, you heard about the Linas issue. So I mean, in terms of natural resources, Australia and possibly New Zealand have a strong interest in Southeast Asia, and that is the reason why actually we should call ourselves the Asia Pacific instead of just Southeast Asia.
However, in this news report, they also noted how, for example, countries like Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Myanmar tend to have fewer officials capable of participating fully in meetings held in English. So I think that if this is not if we do not develop ourselves fast enough, we might just end up as
develop ourselves in terms of linguistically, or
no, in terms of human development and having capable government officials. Otherwise, I have friends who think that now Laos is becoming one of the trash sites for China imitation products or and a lot of other
I think
harming stuff.
I have to clarify on the main problems of Southeast Asia. I think it's not so much on human development, although that is important. But I think if Southeast Asia truly want to be an integrated sort of regional bloc, first of all, I mean, they have to look at each other and realize that they have to focus on democracy, as in like the government itself, in terms of transparency, in terms of curbing corruption, in terms of trying to provide a more equal society. That they need to truly look into that. I mean, I saw in Bangkok Post, can you imagine, in terms of the highest unequal Southeast Asian countries, Malaysia and Singapore is part of the top 5. And of course, the most unequal Southeast Asia country would be Thailand. So, it shows that it shows that economy and social can only be progressive if the government liberate, as in like democratize politics.
But throughout the ASEAN countries, I don't think there's any countries that are able to do so. Not even the ASEAN. Even we look beyond the ASEAN. Which country that would be able to do what you just mentioned just now? It's not that easy.
That's true. I mean, they were. I remember I went to a second-hand bookstore. The book is, I can't remember the title, but it's about the future of Southeast Asia, and it was written, by the way, in the 1950s it was published by University of Malaya, back then in Singapore. It was an interesting piece. It was part of a chapter of a whole Southeast Asian issues. It was an interesting piece to me because at that time already they have predicted that the main obstacle that Southeast Asia or ASEAN will face is the problems of trying to be democratic, trying to be a more democratic regional body. Right now, it is seen as an intergovernmental body, but it seems like every decision making and in terms of how it portrays itself the power is very much centralized to the government, but not to the people. And next year we'll be having the ASEAN Community 2015. So this is the key areas that the Southeast Asian government should look deeply into.
But Bangkok, Indonesia is working towards that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The most democratic country so far in Southeast Asia is Thailand, Philippines, and Indonesia.
These three countries.
Yeah, but we have 10 countries plus Timor-Leste. So this is something that we need to. It will take a longer time for us to work through.
Yeah.
So later, Arlene will be sharing about what she experienced in the ASEAN People's Forum that has just concluded in the 21st of March. So do stay tuned later. And now let's move on to something that I think might ring some bells in Malaysia. However, this is coming from Burma, from Human Rights Watch, talking about a discriminatory marriage law that was proposed, So this proposed law would restrict Buddhist women to marrying only Buddhists. So it requires individuals holding other religious belief to convert to Buddhism before marrying a Buddhist. And they will have to seek for, this parental consent of the bride. And so otherwise you will have a 10-year prison sentence and confiscation of properties of any non-Buddhist who seeks to marry a Buddhist, if you violate the law. So, of course, this is just a proposal, but this came up from a group of Buddhist monks and laypersons. I personally think that this really rings some bells of what is happening in Malaysia, you know, especially where freedom of religion is concerned, where you have to have a forced conversion. But it just puzzles me that, how could people claim that this is done in the name of Buddhism at all?
I don't know, because in Malaysia, when you look back into our own countries, right, when you marry a Muslim, you have to convert to a Muslim, regardless you're the Buddhist or not. So it doesn't create any. Of course, I think among the Chinese, probably don't like it. Okay, but just an issue is that they don't care if they just simply, all right, if you put that as a law or regulations, then I don't want to get a Malay or wife or Malay husband. So I just simply get along with our own community. So that's making the problem.
Causes social problems.
Yes, the social problem. And it's quite hard to us to get united because we are not as the same nation,
And it causes racial discrimination as well.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I think we also need to understand the context that why this kind of thing would happen in Myanmar is because of the transition. In the past, it was a military regime. It was ruled by the military regime. So every decision making is centralized, including how religion would play into society. But now, since it has opened doors, as in creating more people to say what they want. So and we have to realize as well, Myanmar is as diverse as Malaysia. In fact, if you go to Myanmar, you will see a huge population of Muslim, Buddhists, Christians, Hindus, and so on. But the difference between Malaysia and Myanmar is a Buddhist majority country, while Malaysia is a Muslim majority country. So in that sense, the government need to realize that it has to be more focused in terms of how the way it deals with its society. In that sense, let's say in Malaysia, in order for the government to retain their power, they have to please the Muslim majority population, and that's the reason why our country is gearing towards a more Islamization, I guess.
Yeah, but that's not the reason or the excuse for the government to discriminate the minority.
It is not. That's why the government needs to have stronger policy, as in a more secular policy, and provide equal, as in spaces for all religious believers.
But sometimes it's not because of the government only. Even the people itself, the majority tends to discriminate the minority.
Yeah.
So I think that's issues that we need to solve.
If I could add a point that this proposal is actually put forward by Ashin Wiratu, which we covered earlier from the 969 movement, which is known as the Bin Laden of Myanmar. The face of Buddhist terror. That's how he appeared on the Time magazine. So I should note that this is not representative of all the voices in Myanmar, definitely, but it's just concerning how people could use religion to push forward certain agenda, and the fact that there are monks supporting him, which is very and of course it all boils down.
It happens in Malaysia.
Back to their fear of like losing the country to Muslims and whatnot.
It's quite unbelievable to me because the impression in my mind, about a monk, there should be someone that really peaceful, harmony, and they don't ask for war or battle. So you have to do everything harmonized and moderate. So this is the impression to me, but now totally different.
I think this is this kind of personality would exist when politics and power is at play, I guess. In the past, monks are seen as part of the community. Their role is to be the moral guiders or to sort of
advisors.
Exactly.
Advisors. But nowadays, I think they are
they're crazy for the power.
Political advisors.
They are crazy. Not crazy, but they are as power hungry as politicians, if I would say. Yeah.
All right, now moving back to a news that comes locally from FMT Borneo Plus, talking about how Sabahans are finally getting piped water. But they are not cheap because government-appointed plumbers are charging them between 550 ringgit to 800 ringgit. So you're talking about $300 US dollars per household just to connect the pipes, So I think that I would resonate what some of the consumers in Kota Belud have mentioned about where is the allocated development budget of 7 billion, why couldn't they connect the water? This is such a basic human right.
If you're talking about basic human rights, drinking water is a basic human right, but what is do you need to pay that?
No, so they will pay the future fees, wherever their water bill is concerned.
It should be paid by the government, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least connecting the pipes, shouldn't be something that is charged to them, isn't it? You're talking about.
If you want to enjoy the water or the drinking water or maybe from the pipe, right? It's easily from your house, and payment is something that to cover maybe the cost of the government they need to expense. But the problem is if you need to pay, to me, it should be having some enjoy the water for free and education for free. There are lots of the human basic requirement, basic human rights that we should fulfill. But the problem is we cannot fulfill that because government, they're not having that kind of the cost to. It's quite a big cost to bear, So that's why sometimes we need to pay for that. I'm not sure how much is the reasonable, how you put the reasonable price to charge on the citizens.
Yeah.
How we judge that?
I think, looking at the overall government, the way they respond to critical issues, like for example, water, education and all that, I can sum up that our social policy is very, very weak. As in like...
I do agree with that.
Yeah, as in like a lot of our basic needs are not met and we have to resort to private resources, and this is not healthy in creating a more equal opportunity society.
And somehow we make it a political issues, like a water crisis in the Selangor last month. They make it a political issues.
That's true.
Yeah, so that's making it more complicated. How are you going to make a human rights, and that's supposed to be enjoyed by the human, but it becomes political issues now.
Yeah, but I'll have to say that actually some parts of it reminds me of how in the US they were having what do you call that, gridlock between the Senate and also between the House of Representatives. So sometimes I would have to say that in the case of for example Selangor water bows. Sometimes there are differences in political philosophy, for example. Like, okay, fine, the Selangor state government thinks that you should reduce the non-revenue water, and then whereas the other one just think that you have to build more dams. So but this kind of thing should not, how do I put it? It should not be seen as something that is unhealthy. Like in the sense of, I would rather think that it's part and parcel of democracy.
I see. Yeah. I refuse to think that the issue, the case of Sabah not getting water any sooner before this is. I don't think it's ideological differences. I think mainly it's a human rights issue, and the government, and also is also the weakness of government in terms of how they implement their policy and formulate their policy. It is a very I think the government need to sort of like look hard into themselves, realize that what is their priority. And it seems like so far I can witness is their priority is more on economic growth, as in like a more capitalistic growth of industry that not necessarily would provide the social policy of all Malaysians. And looking back at how unequal our society is, this is something that if we don't try to address within the next 5 to 10 years, we might be one of the backward countries within Southeast Asia, because I can definitely witness in other countries the government are trying their best, even though not perfectly, creating a more equal society, as in not just ideologically leaning towards socialism or capitalism, but I guess trying to provide that equal in opportunity among society. And I think this is something important regardless of the ideological leaning of any person.
All right. Thank you very much, Arlene, and also Will, for sharing with us today. It has been a great news session, and we will move on to our next session with a dialogue with Arlene after the break.